Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to answer a question from Stacy. She's from South Carolina. She wanted to know how soon after someone passes are we able to communicate with them, or are they able to communicate with us? And I have to be honest and say that I have done many readings. I did one recently where the person passed 2 days before this person came to me. It was an emergency read, and I do quite a few of them. I'll receive a phone call sometimes late at night or early in the morning, and it'll be usually it's a parent who just lost a child and they hear about me from somebody else, or they've read about me and they call me up and literally beg me to please get them in sooner. They need to communicate, and it's very hard for me to not bring a parent in when I can feel the amount of grief because I am a prophetic feeler. I can feel the grief that they have, and I know that they really need to connect with their child in some way. So what I do with these people, my intention always is not to do a full reading, just to bring a few pieces of information to them from their child. Sometimes I'm able to do that on the phone, but more often than not, I'll tell them to come to the center and I will squeeze them in somewhere. And I recently did one where the child had passed 2 days before, passed tragically in a car accident, and I was able to bring in quite a bit of information. I didn't know the people. They were from another state, and they drove all the way in. They drove, it was 7 or 8 hour drive to get here, and they sat with me. And of course, they wound up staying for quite a while. It was several hours. And grief is grief. They're still in shock and devastated over the loss of a child, but at least they knew by the end of the reading that without a doubt I was in fact connecting with their child. And again, we go back to evidential mediumship. The only way you're really able to do that for anybody is to give them proof. It's proof. And that's why, telling the future really is not validating anything, because you can't validate events in the future. You can't validate that. And I'm all about proof in the here and now. So they are able to come in, our loved ones, when they pass, they're able to come in as quickly as we need them to come in. And so for people who have, come here, again, with a few days of passing, I had one couple several years ago. They were knocking on my door. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I heard the knocking, and I got up and I went downstairs and I went to the door, and they were in terrible state, and their child had just passed away, and they heard about me, and I invited them in. I actually wound up doing a reading in my house coat, but I was able to bring in information, and their child was able to bring in some very specific pieces of information, which again validated for the parents that he was okay. He was okay. And in that reading in particular, I was able to bring in the mother of the mother who lost the child. It was her own mother who had already been in spirit, and this mother stepped in, a grandmother to the child who passed, and said, "He's with me. Don't worry, he's with me, and he's fine." And he was able to bring in a couple of messages. So it all depends on the spirit energy. I've never, I've always been very blessed by God and spirit, and I've always been able to bring in information that validated for the person and comforted them in some way. And for me, that's what it's about. It's about bringing in evidence and comfort and peace to them in some way. So, we'll always miss our loved ones. We'll always grieve for them, of course, because it's an empty space in our lives where a loved one used to be, and we miss the physical part of them. But at least we know through evidential spiritual mediumship that there is a beautiful place where we all go, and we all will be together again. And it was their time, but not our time. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. And as always, I leave you in God's love and light.